Is today's oil short going to come and save all the other markets, guys? This is the daily entry, multiple assets, multiple tradable zones that you can execute during the course of the day. Let's go. Now, guys, obviously yesterday was a big day. Today is another big day. We've got CPI, and obviously we are expecting a degree of volatility in the markets. Sprinkle some of the war juice into this, and then you know things are going to get spicy. Now, jumping into our first setup, well, yesterday was an absolute banger. We smashed the NAS. Obviously, oil was a bit of a surprise. Gold didn't play out very nicely, but this NASDAQ, wow, what an absolute beauty. And the NAS and the Dow at the moment are my two favorite assets that I am trading currently. Now, you're only as good as your last trade, so let's go and take a look at what is coming next. So in terms of the NAS, I've got 4 tradable zones that I really like today. Let's dive in a little bit deeper here and take a look at some of these areas. Now, the first big one for me is just around the corner. It looks like it's one headline away, and that is 29,570, 50-day MA, nice undercarriage here, 618, very simple zone here for us. Okay, so that's 29,564, looking good. Oscillator is overcooked as well. So if we get a push, look for something along those lines. Again, remember, we're looking for 1-to-1, 2-to-1 trades here, guys. We're not looking to be married to these things. These things are volatile. They can move up and down super quickly. Now, the next high conviction short zone for me has got to be this guy, 29,850, looking good for me at the moment. So look for that second push, and we simply want to take out those highs, 29,850. This is the US 100 cash chart, capital.com, the NASDAQ. Okay, in terms of longs, if we bleed out today, simple game plan, same thing as yesterday. We just want to sweep these wicks, bang, and then look for that bounce. Risk is next to nothing here, and you'll find you can get a couple of $100,000 position going on these things, and your risk is going to be about $150, $200 at most in these types of zones. So if we sweep that wick, 29,130, that is where I'm looking for a bounce, and then the banger to the downside for me should be, and that is if this happens during the course of today, 28,835, looking pretty good. Now, just a quick reminder, guys, if you are trading these things, all these exchanges that you're trading on, they might have a slight difference in the numbers, and I just want to show you on Yubit how I do this. And obviously in terms of the higher conviction setups, I actually preset some orders. So we are busy trading in a Yubit trading comp. At the moment, you can participate. Just go into the show description there, and you will find a link to that Yubit trading comp. And these are my 2 high conviction trades that I'm presetting for the day on the NAS. And these are very simple zones, but just as an indication in terms of the numbers, you can see this wick high, for example, 29,840 on the Yubit chart. And if we go into the NAS chart that we're looking at, this number is 29,830. Okay, so you can see there's a slight deviation here in the numbers, so just make sure you tie it in terms of your stops. And remember, give the stops breathing room. You don't want to have them too tight because sometimes they do sweep these areas, so just give yourself reasonable breathing room here to the upside on these things, and then obviously to the downside as well. Okay, so that is the current NAS situation that I'm looking at here today. And remember, during the course of the day, the Chartacres Discord gets tons of updates from me in terms of what is going on in this particular channel, so make sure you are part of the Hackers Discord and you will get the updates during the course of the day. Now, the Dow was also an absolute banger yesterday. That short was incredible, and even though the oscillator wasn't playing out perfectly here, we got a massive rejection. Remember, ideally you always want to see that oscillator to lower your risk. Obviously you want to see that oscillator overcooked on both sides, but this was just phenomenal what happened with the Dow yesterday in terms of that short. And look at that bounce zone as well. Now, what is the next situation? What is the next play on the Dow? Well, we're going to look at those rules there in a sec, but in terms of what I'm looking for today on the Dow, 2 very simple areas. I'm expecting, if we get a pump, this wick to get taken out, so I don't want to mess around in between that wick. For me, shorts 52,850 again. We want to sweep those highs. We're going to hit that undercarriage. I'm sure there's some unfinished business up there for the Dow, so if we go up there, we're looking for that short in that zone. Pretty high conviction short zone, I would say, in that area. And then in terms of today, you can see our 45-minute oscillator is just messing around a little bit. I'd like to see it drop into that zone, and if it does, we are going to get a long 52,200 looks pretty good to me. Anywhere, in fact, from this wick low, so that box in general looks pretty good to me. Watch out for that. There's a 786 fib and a wick just floating around in that region as well. So looking for that bounce, and then if things do melt down harder today, the next zone that I'm going to try is 52,076. Okay, now just quickly some rules of engagement here, because obviously there's a lot of new traders here. There's a lot of new people watching what is going on, and you know, ideally what we want to do here is just make sure we follow the game plan. And the game plan at the moment for me is to keep it super simple. We're looking at 1-to-1 trades. We're looking at 2-to-1 trades at most in some of these zones, and some of them are incredibly short-lived. You might find that these things take 15 minutes to play out, and then you're moving on to the next one. Okay, so don't get married to positions. Higher probability when the oscillator is overcooked on either side. And guys, don't overtrade. Obviously, you're going to get multiple setups from me, and there's a strong possibility a lot of these are going to hit, but just pick some of your favorites. Like for me right now, I'm trying to steer away from oil. It just looks crazy at the moment, and I'm focused on the Dow and the NAS. I feel like I'm getting better value on just those guys, so I'm trying to be picky on some of those setups. So just pick your favorites, trade those, and remember, new opportunities come every single day. I'm showing up here every single day. I'm updating in the Discord every single day as well. Okay guys, let's go. Where's the big oil short? What is going on? This thing is absolute filth. It blew through the 200-day MA, and that trade was very quickly invalidated on that pump. Look at that, bang, straight through that 200-day MA. Now, what is the plan for oil? So I'm generally trying to steer away, but I know there is a couple of big levels here that we can expect. So this is oil on the 2-hour time frame. First notable area here, look at this gap. I think it's reasonable to come and fill this gap now that we've pushed so high. So that is up to 84.9, but then once we filled the gap, why wouldn't they go and just take care of that wick over there? Why wouldn't they tap the 50, and why wouldn't they hit this macro 618 on this US oil chart? So if you're looking for shorts on oil, guys, I'd say conviction plays 86.7 into about 87.7 making sense to me there on oil. 1 to 2% risk, give or take, in that area. Obviously, remember, oil pumping is generally going to be a problem for some of these other markets. So it's not really a place you want to be long everything else while oil is exploding. It can get a little bit dangerous. So short oil, long everything else, or long oil, shorting everything else. That seems to be the playbook over the last couple of months here, making sense at the moment. Okay, so that's the oil play. Gold, also very disappointing yesterday. In fact, I'm hating gold at the moment. Again, for me, it's NAS and Dow that seems to be delivering the best action at the moment. Where's the gold long? The gold long is from 3,970 into the sweep of those lows, 3,940, bullish order block, wick fills over there. We should get cooperation from the 2-hour oscillator, printing some bullish divergence, things like that. Okay, so waiting for lower on gold, not interested in where it is now. Yesterday, pretty disappointing. Swept those lows and carried on sweeping. We don't like that, okay? We want the bounces in the good zones. Now, big dog over here. Let's talk Bitcoin and what is going on. So Bitcoin's hardly actually moved since I covered this yesterday, believe it or not. If you go look at yesterday's video, we're pretty much floating around in the same place we were. Bitcoin, there's 3 trades here today that I'm interested in. First one is the same degen play from yesterday. I believe we will have a fight in that area. 63.5 into 64K, undercarriage, VWAP, 618, 786, wick fill. Multiple reasons why we should get some kind of fight for BTC. So it could be a short-term rejection, or it could turn into quite a big one. We'll have to play that one by ear. Obviously, risk, protect yourself, guys. Risk here, maybe 1%, give or take. You're looking at that. And obviously, the danger is now you can see this 50-day moving average creeping in lower. Be careful here. You might find they even try and wick that 50-day MA before dropping it. Okay, so that is my degen danger zone. And then if things get super exciting later on today, let's say CPI gives us a nice pump, you might find that we're looking for shorts on BTC 65,250 into this this VWAP at around 66k, that region is still making sense to me. And you'll see on the Chart Hackers show later on today, there's multiple bearish order blocks in that region and a strong possibility that we reject if we push into that zone. Now, in terms of the lower time frame, in terms of lower levels, where's my long? Well, we know the liquidation heat map, they're telling us there's a lot of liquidity here under 61k. So let's respect that. And that is also a 0.5 and a 618. We've got tons of horizontals here. So longs 61.2 into 60,000, give or take. That looks like my reasonable long zone for me. Now remember, all this stuff we trade live a lot of the time on the Chart Hackers YouTube channel. You can go and check that out as well for all the new guys. So we've separated obviously some of the TradFi stuff with what we're doing on Hackers, but we're still covering some stocks and some basic macro stuff on the Hackers channel as well. And that is our live trading channel where you're going to see myself and the team cooking in those zones. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. And we're going to see you guys tomorrow for some fresh entries. We'll see you live trading later on. Catch you later.